Welcome to Icy Mike Imperfect, the podcast with me, Icy Mike. We're streaming simultaneously on the Podbean app. There's a link down in the description below if you're on YouTube and you want to join in. We're going to talk about something funny. I've been ducking and dodging these questions for weeks and months trying to figure out what kind of video I wanted to do. And we're going to talk about when people show up at the studio to either fight me or spar with me or what. I don't know whether you call them dojo storms or whether you call them challenges or what, but it's happened. It's real. They've come for me, and I'm going to tell you all about what happens, what I think about it, and even give you like the specific play-by-play of 3 incidents where people have basically come to my place of business to fight me. This is the Icy Mike Imperfect podcast. And as always, our podcast is brought to you by All In Fitness in CrossFit Grenada. Now, All In Fitness in CrossFit Grenada is a local business. So in lieu of trying to extract money out of you, they ask that you just consider donating to St. Jude Children's Hospital. There's a link down in the description below if you're interested in that. But let's talk about when dudes show up basically to fight me, I guess. Let's talk about how it starts. No one has ever said, I'm coming to the studio to fight you. No one's ever walked in and said, I'm here to fight you. That's never happened. I'm not going to pretend it has. That would be a proper dojo storm. That's why I didn't use the term dojo storm in any of the title or the thumbnail. That would be a dojo storm. I'm here to fight you. I want to beat you up because I don't know. I don't know what they think that proves. But let's talk about what they actually do. And I want you guys to think about this, because if you're a martial artist or you're, any kind of martial artist or any kind of fighter, any kind of aspiring fighter or combat sport athlete, I want you to carefully think about what some of us are hearing when you send us these messages. If you send a martial artist or a YouTube personality or a combat athlete a message, you can say all the nice things in the world that you want to say to him. You could say like, oh my gosh, I'm a huge fan. I really like your videos, or I watched you fight, or whatever it is, however you know of that person, you can say all the nice things in the world that you want to say about them. But if he doesn't know you, and he doesn't know who you are, he doesn't know the place that you train at, he doesn't know your coach, he doesn't know anyone that knows you, and you tell him, I would love to spar you, a lot of us, a lot of martial artists think one thing and you might mean another. And we're going to talk about what I mean by that in a second. When I tell someone, hey, let's spar, all the sparring done at my studio for the most part, except for on special occasions for certain reasons, is very light, very playful. We're laughing and having a good time and trying stuff. And if someone does something and the other guy's like, oh, that's cool, and everyone kind of relaxes, you'll like let the guy try it back to you, or you'll ask to see it again right in the middle of the round. That's how we go. We don't get real serious. We do some serious sparring, but our regular sparring day is playful and fun and productive. You could forget everything you knew and drop your guard, and you shouldn't get hurt. That's just how we spar. Not everyone's super into that. People like to treat it like a fight. I know boxing gyms in particular. Basically, I don't know the difference between sparring in a boxing gym and fighting. I can't really tell the difference. But that's what I mean when I say spar. So if you come to sparring at my studio, that's what we are intending to do. Now, maybe you call sparring something different. And that's the problem. So when you message somebody and say, hey, I want to come spar you, if I knew who you were and I knew that you knew who I was, we would both know what you mean by that. But when I don't know you, I used to not know that people felt very differently. I thought everyone that was messaging me on Instagram or emailing me or coming by the studio was my friend and was just there to have a good time, or there to learn, or there to teach, or there to grow, or just have fun. I thought that was cool. But that's not been my experience. Now, you know what? I better clarify. I've sparred with hundreds of people. I've sparred with people of every skill level. I've sparred with UFC fighters, Bellator fighters, and people who have been training for 3 months, and everything in between since I've started doing this. It's been a lot of fun. 99.9% of everyone I spar with that does train gets it, and there's no problem. So this might come across as like, damn, is it like the Wild West every time? Like if you thought you wanted to go spar, like what is that going to be like? If you're sparring with people who know what they're doing, it's generally playful and fun, and they scale it to your level. They should anyway, if everyone wants to learn. But so what has happened? And this, I didn't know that this was a thing. And when I went on McDojo Life, Rob from McDojo Life asked me, he said, so hey, tell us about some crazy stories, man, where people show up to the gym and you know, yada, yada, yada. I was like, that's never happened. Everyone that shows up is cool. He said, man, everyone's got that crazy story of a guy that shows up and is like, you know, trying to fight people or acting weird or saying, you know, I'd never experienced it. But now as YouTube has become more popular and things have sort of blown up, so to speak, the weirdos have started showing up. And the first time that I was taken by surprise by someone I was sparring with, it wasn't something I had not experienced before. It was just the first time I'd experienced it in my place. I'd been sparring at other places where everyone's going kind of light. And this would be like story number 1. First guy I ever felt like was trying to hurt me in sparring. He came to train with us, and actually he did classes, and this is, I want to get your opinion pretty soon. I'm going to open up the lines here in a little bit on what my policy should be for this, because since we've done YouTube, you know, the types of people that are showing up have gotten more varied. So a guy shows up, and he clearly trains, and he knows what he's doing. He's really nice, and he told me, hey, I watch all your videos, really like your channel. I'm going to be in town. I want to come train with you. And he trained with us all week. Like, he came to the classes, and everything was cool. And I always, when someone comes from out of town or that's a YouTube viewer and they come to classes, I'll usually spend a lot of time partnered with them too. Everything was cool. Well, come sparring day, he comes and everything seems cool, but what I've found is that guys who are very proficient in maybe like traditional martial arts, like guys that haven't spent a lot of time boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, you know, the combat sport martial arts, the traditional martial artists are always, if they are not sparring regularly, it's obvious, but the ones that do seem sort of competent and experienced, they're real jumpy. Their power's all over the place. They don't have an even keel. They get real jumpy. I'm not sure what that's all about, and maybe someone with some background in karate or hapkido or taekwondo or whatever these guys, that maybe someone might have some more insight into that. But it's been my experience that like they start out cool, and then once they get pressured, they just are all over the place. And it's not necessarily super hard. They might also get super passive, and they might be super aggressive and super passive in the same round. You know, a totally unexperienced person will go one or the other. They'll get really passive or really aggressive. But these traditional martial artists with a little bit of experience sort of all over the place. Everything is fine. I'm sparring with this guy, and I think what happens, and my instructor, my kickboxing instructor, Cliff, has a theory I'll share with you in a little bit. The guy started throwing a little hard, and I think he was getting frustrated. And Cliff has a good theory on that. He was getting frustrated, and I've been hurt by sparring partners because I've always been too passive and I go too easy. Now, in my studio that I own, everyone there is there with me. They came to train with me. So everyone is my friend. Everyone, we're all close and we're all good with each other. So I haven't had that happen in a while, and I felt like if I don't simmer this guy down, he is going to hurt me. And I threw one hard right, boom, and his it was not to get too war story. I won't get too war story or too like, oh, I'm bragging like what I did. We were going, and I hit him, and his legs gave, and he did like this, and he kind of stared off into space, and he said, "Am I going too hard?" And I said, "You're going a little hard." He said, "All right, sorry. You're right. Sorry. I'm just getting okay." And then everything was fine. That's anecdote number 1. That was the least, and that's happened to me. That could have not had anything to do with him. I don't think he was trying me. or anything like that. And so I said, that's okay. Sometimes you gotta let people know. And when you're being playful with people, when you're hosting people and you're trying to be nice to them, sometimes they're not clear what's really happening. You know, we talked before about the guy that I kicked out of the studio. He didn't know that for most of us that he was sparring with, the only techniques he was landing were ones that we allowed him to do. You know, he did not have a good handle on where he was at in the pecking order of things. And I had, you know, the amateurs easily handled him. They would just let him get some work in. So then when he starts going hard, they're like, yo, dude, I'm like letting you kick me, man. So, anyway, Eric, all gas, no brakes, Velasquez says, how many times Icy Mike been KO'd? I can remember one. I've been flash KO'd, like out, and then when I hit the ground, I like never was really out. I can easily remember 2 times like that, both in training, and then the first time I was ever knocked unconscious was just a straight punch right in the face in the middle of the road. We were street boxing. We had on boxing gloves, but other than that, it was not boxing. We didn't know what we were doing. We were teenagers. And he hit me really. The first punch cracked right in the face, knocked me unconscious. I woke up with that ring of people looking down, like in the TV shows when it shows like all the people like looking down and you're like looking up at a ring of people. That's what I woke up to. And I was like, he hit me, like for real. And everyone laughed. So I've been knocked out a couple times. It's when it happens, that one doesn't hurt. Yeah, you don't like acutely feel that one unless it's accompanied with like a broken nose or jaw or something like that. But like the getting he you know, snapped or popped or, you know, really like dropped, it's not that bad. The after effects suck. Feeling nauseous and queasy and like concussed and everything sucks. Second time this happened, we've alluded to it before, is when Sensei Seth taught a sidekick seminar. We had a guy show up who was a viewer of mine and Sensei Seth's, and clearly had some training, and he was a little bit older than the average person that trains, but he was pretty spry, good little kicks. After every seminar, I know that people, it's weird that people want to spar with people who aren't. I get why someone would want to spar with a professional fighter and see what that'd be like, but I think it's weird when people want to spar with us. Like, what do you think? Like, we're okay. You know, we're okay. We're probably like you, you know? I have some theories that we'll get into. But this guy, me and Sensei Seth have alluded to this before. He was throwing like axe kicks and knees to the body. And the second you went back at him, you know, he'd be like, okay. And I remember he threw a front snap kick at my face. Like, it looked to be as hard as he could. And then I made a conscious decision to settle him down. I put him with all my bigger guys. He wasn't much bigger than me, but I put him with I wouldn't let him spar with anyone except my way bigger, like more experienced guys. And I gave everyone like a, you know, like, hey, yeah, this, like, be for real. And then him, I just busted his body up. Like, boom, 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 boom. Like that rhythm, not like an oppressive, not like a beat down. It wasn't a beat down, but it was just that hard shot, huh? Hard shot, yeah, hard shot. Oh, you know, that sort of rhythm, and he got it. I think he got it. We're not sure if he got it. At the end, I made a little like reference to people that were sparring hard and didn't know it, and I explained my way of dealing with it, like to the room, with him standing next to me, and everyone was kind of laughing because they all knew that's what I was talking about. But he was like, he might not ever known. So I don't know if that was like an internet troll coming to attack me. The third time it happened, it was really bad. It was a really bad. It was basically a fight. It got really bad. And this has happened a few times. And I need to come up with a policy for people visiting. Because look, I love YouTube. YouTube is an important part of my business and, you know, my life. But I have a brick and mortar business to run, and I can't have like maniacs coming in there to fight with me. Because when you say you want to fight me, This is what's weird. When you say you want to fight me, I'll put it to you like this. Well, everyone that can beat me up, like, doesn't want to. And everyone that wants to beat me up, I'm trying to think of a way to put it. I'm not trying to brag. There's people that can beat me up. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, there's lots of dudes that can beat me up. But none of the dudes, like, I know dudes that can beat me up that don't even like me. But they don't feel any compulsion to show up to fight me. So when people comment, like, fight me, bro, or I want to fight you, it's really strange to me because I wonder what they think that proves. Like, what are they trying to accomplish? Especially when it comes from, like, a disagreement. Like, I say something that they disagree with, and then they want to fight me for it. I'm like, what do you think it proves if you beat me up? So it proved you beat me up. It doesn't prove that, like, karate chops are better than punches. You just beat me up. It proved you were better at fighting than me on that day, and probably most other days. But the funny part is nobody cared. Nobody was asking that question. Nobody was wondering, and nobody needed to know that, except for you. So if you want to fight me, that really speaks, even if you can beat me up, and even if you then come and did beat me up, that's very insecure because you're the only one wondering that. Nobody on the planet is wondering if Doofus Boy 623 from the comment section can beat up Mike from the Hard to Hurt channel. Nobody cared. Nobody was interested in that. Nobody wanted to find that out. Didn't answer anybody's question except your own. And if you're the only one wondering, like, why are you wondering that? It's just a strange thing. Jeff Meager says, sounds like a self-imposed achievement. Yeah, you're like giving yourself a trophy for beating up a 40-year-old amateur with an even record, I think. No, I guess I'm like 3-4 now. I don't know. Like, unless you count street beefs or you count jiu-jitsu, you know, you're beating up a 40-year-old amateur who doesn't train full time and has a gut and nerve damage. Like, cool, man. I make videos where I talk about martial arts and fitness. There's no video, and what's funny is the guys that project. They project like, oh, you talk all this shit and you think you're the shit. I'm like, find me that video where I at all intimated that. Find me that video, because I'm pretty sure in every video I'm approaching it from hey, I'm doing the best that I know how, and these are the things that I've learned. And I've never asserted myself as an authority except on a narrow set of things on which I am arguably and objectively an expert. But just like fighting, why do you want to fight me? For the most part, out of my experience, all the people that showed up to the studio to throw down with me, you know, in one way or the other, friendly sparring, competitive sparring, or they really wanted to find out the truth. I'll just put it like this way, and the people that don't get it and already think I'm like full of myself, and like it's my people always comment like, why do you think anybody cares? I'm like, it's my YouTube channel, because people watch it. I don't know, don't watch it. Everyone that can beat me up doesn't feel the need to, and everyone that feels the need to, I don't think they can. Like, just statistically, you need to like analyze that thought. If you have in your brain, if you watch a Hard to Hurt video and you're like, I gotta kick this guy's ass, you know, I don't know that it's ever. So let's talk about the worst time it's ever happened. Worst time it ever happened. A guy called me up on the phone and said, you know, I wanna spar with you. Oh, and to touch on it, so David Branch asked what kind of nerve damage. I had cervical spine surgery, and I'd put it off for a really long time, and there was a nerve impinged in my neck that caused pretty bad nerve damage throughout the left side of my body, my left arm, my left lat, left shoulder. Also, I got a host of other, you know, orthopedic injuries. None of the muscles in my shoulders or chest connect to my collarbone over here. I've got this bicep is torn. I have tons of injuries. But the worst time that's ever happened, and this was a beatdown. This was a bloody This was a bloodbath. A guy called me up and said, hey, I want to come to your sparring. And it didn't sound right. If you need to ask, this goes in the list. If you ask in the comments how you can be a caller on the podcast, I don't want you on the podcast. If you ask me where my school is, I don't want you to come. It's just things that you should be able to figure out. And if you can't figure them out, we don't want you. Like if you don't possess the ability to find out the location of a place that you're coming to visit to train, I don't want you to train there. And if you can't find the very second link in the description to get on the podcast, we don't want you in there. The issue was, and this goes on the list with that. If you call me or message me and say, hey, is it cool if I come to sparring? It's probably not. It's probably not. If you're not sure whether or not it's cool, it's probably not. I think a good policy would be for like, I know you and I know your coach and I know someone that trains with you or something like that. I need to come up with something. Pop me a comment down below if you can think of a good way to do that, because then this is the problem I ran into, because I almost did that this time. The issue was the guy called and said, hey, I'd like to come to sparring. Well, tell me what that's all about. I said, well, it's open. It's like open sparring. He says, cool. I'd really like to train with you. And I said, well, hey, it's not training. It's not class. I don't teach. I'm there to train that day. That's my day to train. Like, I'm not teaching. I've got my shit on. I got my mouth guard in. I'm not talking to anybody. Michael and Picky, thank you so much. So Michael and Picky with the super chat. He's been to the studio. He's trained with me. He sparred with me several rounds. You know what I mean? And he's my example that I always use. He came, traveled, wanted to train with me, wanted to spar with me. We had a great time. No one got hurt. You know? Aki Patwari says you need to know them for at least 48 hours in real life to spar with them. Yeah, like maybe they come to a couple classes. That's not a bad idea. And I wanted to do that with this guy. He called and said, hey, I want to come see what sparring is like. I said, you don't know what sparring is like? I said, that's not really. I said, hey man, we've got a Saturday class that's like sparring applications, and it's like where you're you learn to apply techniques, and it's like guided sparring, situational sparring, like that sort of thing. LCC or Jumpy Killer says, don't boxing gyms just kick those types of people out? No, I think they just beat them up. They just beat the shit out of them at boxing gyms. But so I told him, I said, maybe it's not a good idea. I mean, I don't know you or anything like that. I said, why don't you come to some classes? And he's like, well, I can't get to classes on these days because of yada, yada, yada. I want to come to sparring. I want to spar with you. And I was like, I don't know, man. We've had people show up. I explained. I said, we've had people come in that are just trying to like get over on us or get some clout or whatever you want to call it, to use a gross YouTube term. Just I don't know what they're after, but we've had this happen a lot. And he says, oh, I totally get it. I'm not, nah, man. It's just and he said something like I've just seen your YouTube videos and all, and I watch you on YouTube all the time. And I just kind of was wondering. And it made me feel like, I got this impression like he was sort of calling me out if I didn't agree to allow him to come to sparring. Like as if there would be some sort of like, if I said no, that I was like ducking or dodging the idea of sparring anyone, which is never the case. Because like I said, the people that could beat me up and hurt me wouldn't. When I spar with Seth, he doesn't try to really hurt me. When I spar with Cliff, he doesn't try to. The people that can really hurt me have no desire to, because they're secure. People that can hurt me, that want to hurt me, that's insecurity. You know what I mean? Which is more rare. Usually when you're so insecure that you want to hurt somebody to prove something, you're probably not capable. Because once you become capable, it's sort of like this happened to me as a kid. I used to fight all the time in middle school. I used to get my ass kicked for running my mouth too much. Imagine that. And my mom got tired of me getting my ass kicked and me getting in trouble. So she said, if you're going to get in trouble, you're not going to get your ass kicked anymore. And she put me in martial arts. And then I never got in any more fights at school. People that know how to fight, ironically, I didn't actually know how to fight. I just thought I knew how to fight, and that confidence kind of just worked pretty well. But people that really know what they're doing have no urge to prove it to anyone. You know, I've sparred with UFC fighters and Bellator fighters that were just basically like letting me play around and letting me practice, just letting me use them as target practice, and being kind and generous and charitable to me during the round. They didn't feel a guy that fights in the UFC or Bellator feels no urge to hammer some damn near 40-year-old YouTuber. Like, it just doesn't feel that way. So if you feel that way, it might be because you're not there. This is not a challenge. This is not hey, show up to the studio and show me what you're made of. Prove to me that you are a guy who can beat me up, that wants to. I'm not interested. I don't want to fight. I don't like hurting people, and I don't like getting hurt. Jim Park says, how do you not see people want to test their own skills? Well, test them against somebody else, please. Test them against somebody else. I'm not interested in that. That's not what sparring is. So Jim Parks, if you want, a test of your skills is not sparring. Jim Parks, he says, why is this a crazy concept to you? So Jim Parks, you're a good example. You don't understand what we're talking about. You don't test your skills that way. If you want to know how good you are at fighting, go fight. But if you tell somebody you want to spar, that means we're friends and we're learning together. Sparring is a bit of a test, but sparring strangers that's not how it's done, you know? It's a lot like dancing. You get on the dance floor, you don't just start bumping and grinding someone that you don't know as soon as you just, you know what I mean? You approach them, you make eye contact. Hey, is this cool? Is it cool if we do this? Warlord Flanker says sparring is for learning, not testing. No, I do think sparring, I think light sparring is for learning. I think you can test in hard sparring, but like if you want to hard spar, and now the people that are in the know, I've been tapped to do that. I've known earlier in my life, before I was quite so old, when anyone small in the area had a fight coming up, or if a girl in the area had a fight coming up, I would usually end up doing some rounds with them that were a little more competitive for them, not for me, because if they have the fight coming up, you don't really get to beat on them back. But like I knew that I was going to go get tuned up pretty good, and I went into it knowing that. So I guess my big question is, what could I do? What could I tell people that call or come by and say, hey, I want to spar? I think I just need to blanket make it a no, unless I know who you are or who you train with. Get your dad to call my dad and make sure it's okay. You know, that sort of thing. And I've asked other YouTubers, other higher YouTuber guys who are ahead of me in the game, guys who are a little bigger than me, or maybe been doing a little longer than me, that also own schools or train at places. And I say, has this ever happened to you? And they're like, no. So maybe it's me. Maybe it's my shitty personality. Aki Patori says, this man Mike let himself get beat up by a girl. Absolute legend. Well, the thing is, when they got a girl, it's often hard for them to get sparring partners that can pressure them, but that represent a realistic size of a threat. But then you don't want to beat on them 6 weeks before their fight or 4 weeks before their fight or whatever. You were trying to build their confidence. You know, we're trying to make them feel good about themselves. Leonardo says, you made a video with dumb things women think about fighting and said you will follow up with one that talks about dumb things guys think about fighting. Yeah, Leo, see every other video I've ever made. So help me out with a comment, please. And then I'll tell you about the last time. I didn't actually finish telling that story. The guy showed up for sparring, and he was big and he was strong. And as soon as sparring started, he seemed to know what he was doing. He had been trained before, and about 45 seconds of the round, I was standing southpaw, he was standing orthodox, and he threw his lead leg right between my legs, straight up the middle. Boom, hit me in the Diamond MMA Cup. So it didn't hurt, but it was clearly a straight up kick. And now, the reason I mentioned the stance is because if we're talking open stance, I'm southpaw, he's orthodox, and he kicked me with this leg. It's impossible to do that. I feel like it's impossible to do that on accident. You know what I mean? If we were like this and it was the lead leg, that can happen. If we were in open stance and it was this leg, that can happen. But open stance, lead leg, front kick, right between the legs, shin to cup. And then I looked down like, yo, what the hell? And he looked at me like, so I felt like, okay, it's on. And then he just kept pushing me away, like he wouldn't engage. He would just kick, push, and then throw like big punches like this. And I kind of let him burn himself out, get some energy out. He was getting really tired really fast. And then I sent him down with Nate, and then their round started. I tried to give Nate like a look like, hey, watch this dude. And I don't think I got it across. Nate's also kind of dense. And 14 seconds into the round, Nate is on his back. He grabbed his kick and dumped him, which we could probably do some videos on sparring etiquette. Like, do you sweep? Do you dump? When it's someone you don't know, when it's the beginning of the round, there's kind of like some nuance to that, and it's kind of different for everyone and in different cultures and different gyms. But I saw Nate on the ground. I didn't know why he was on the ground. I just saw he was on the ground. And I was sparring with a newer guy, and it's funny because that guy all day, he was just trying to spar with me and Nate, and we were basically like just ignoring him while watching the other one of us spar with the other guy. And I was just like this. And Nate's on the floor, and then he gets up, and then they're like over in the corner, and they're like up against the wall, and they're like cage wrestling, like clinching and fighting from over there. And I'm like, what the fuck? We don't really do that at kickboxing sparring. I'm like, what are y'all doing over there? And I was cool with when he was beating on me. Plus I had that Diamond MMA. I'm not sponsored by them. It's just that cup is the bomb. I didn't really care. That's what I'm there for. I'm here to figure that out. But I think it bothered me more that he was hurting. I felt like he was hurting one of my guys. Apparently it wasn't. Apparently Nate was just like trying to, I don't know what they were doing down there, but it didn't look like a regular sparring round, which I would normally attribute to the person not knowing what they're doing, because there's sort of a flow and a give and a take. When you know what you're doing, it can kind of it just looks better. It doesn't look so ugly. There's not so much pushing and stumbling and all this nonsense. And then it came back down to me, and I started clinching him and kneeing him in the body like really hard. And I was just trying to take so much energy from him that he would sit out. Because typically what happens when people come to spar with us, we don't hurt anyone, but we wear them out because we keep an insane pace in sparring, insane pressure. If you want to get in shape, if you're interested in getting in shape, you need to come to our sparring, because the pressure we make dudes throw up. We made professional fighters throw up. We made amateur fighters throw up. Not from hitting. We don't hit hard. We don't hit hard, believe it or not. I know this story doesn't make it seem like it, but we don't hit hard. But it's an insane pace. So I just figured we would wear him out, and then he would just want to sit down. Normally when we have a problem visitor, we just exhaust them, and then they go sit out. And then they take pictures with us for their Instagram and stuff like that. But they just end up sitting out more rounds than they do because they're so exhausted. Well, he came back for a third round, and I was really annoyed. I was really annoyed. He was pushing me. He just kept pushing me. I would normally think that he didn't know what he was doing because the rounds were so like ugly, but he was also throwing like spin kicks and, a bunch of nonsense, and they didn't look terrible. They looked like he had some idea of what he was doing. So I was just trying to clinch him up and tie him up so nothing catastrophic could happen, but he was much bigger than me. And he pushed me across the room, and then he picked me up. And when he picked me up, you know how I know everything I did. I didn't realize that we'd like kind of gone off the mat. I didn't realize that I was talking to him while what happened after that. I kind of lost my temper a little bit, but I was aware. It wasn't like I was like in a rage. It was like I was like, dude, I feel like you were trying to hurt us. I feel like you came in here to try to hurt us, and I'm gonna defend this place. So one more flurry later, and he was off the mat, and we were dealing with the aftermath of that. It was pretty ugly. Pretty ugly. But I was convinced that he was just an internet troll there to screw with us. He swore he was not, and I was pretty sure he was, and I was really annoyed. We helped him get cleaned up, and he was sitting there, and he started apologizing profusely, and we weren't convinced. And one of my young guys that's new, he's new to martial arts and new to combat sports and MMA and kickboxing and everything, but he's just really, really smart and really insightful. He's like, I don't know, man. He hadn't said anything all day. He's like, I don't know, man. It seems just kind of suspicious because you're like a different guy when you're sitting over there than when you're on the mat. Well, everything calmed down and we were cool. And then I basically put it to him like this. I said, hey, man, if you show up next week for training, because he's not far from here. I said, if you show up next week from training, he said, if you don't show up next week for training, he said, I still want to train. He's like, this is not what I wanted. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. And I said, all right, man, if you show up next week for training, I'll believe you. But if you don't show up next week for training, you're yet another internet troll that came in here and tried us and got sent, on his way. And that's been the story of every time an internet troll. Now, to that guy's credit, he actually did come back for another session or two. Like, he came back once or twice more, like a week later, and just trained. And then he got it, and he apologized again and apologized like over and over and over again. And I kind of told him I apologized in my own way. I did apologize, but I don't apologize for wanting to protect my studio and my athletes and myself. But I need to come up with a there's no 100% foolproof policy, but I need to create some sort of policy, and I was hoping that you could help me with that. Some sort of policy. Adam Zoya said, I kind of don't think he's a troll. Yeah, we landed on that by the end. But during the round, between the bells, I can't wait and see what you're all about. You know what I mean? And he came back, and we were cool, and I helped him learn some things, and we trained together, and I just need to Jeff Meager says no swears were exchanged at all. No, there was some swearing. Joseph Weiss says, Jesus, what'd you do to him? Just kick some punches. But Tony Deere says, strangers can train with you but not spar at first. Mr. Volt says, if you sign up for boxing USA going, you should know that you're going to get your ass kicked in all ways. Shake my head. Mr. Volts, no, that's not true. Not at my studio. No one gets their ass kicked in all ways, especially when they've just signed up. Joel Book says, hard to verify if someone's a psycho. Hercules Satan says, next time some guy shows up to fight, just move contralaterally while out gouging his groin. Meta reference for Hercules. Very good, man. Corey Oskow says, Mike, it should be a hard no unless they show up on your gym enough times that you can actually call them as your students. So yeah, so a lot of you will lean on that. Maybe if you don't, especially if you are maybe a traditional martial artist, or you just sort of train at one place and you don't travel and train, and you don't do boxing, kickboxing, MMA, or Muay Thai. Joseph Weissman, I don't want to get into too many gory details, but yes. Yes to everything you're saying. Topless Tank says, walk-in sparring shouldn't necessarily be allowed. That should be left to your first actual lesson. But for walk-ins, you should only allow people to do some grappling. Great way to feel them out. Jenna Loza says, we usually have quote-unquote enforcers go with the new people just to make sure they're not the type of person that's there just to bully people or don't understand how to roll. Regala Sexist says, Icy Mike, get to know them first before you spar with them. Work out with them, talk with them, get a feel for how they are, and then spar. Yeah, that's a great thing. So all of you, so let me help you guys, because everyone's kind of going to come to that conclusion. That was the first conclusion we came to. But we run into the fact that a big part of our business now with YouTube is that it's become sort of a destination, which is funny. Like, people just want to train, and I want them to come to classes. That's what I want them to do. But I do understand when a real martial artist or a real fighter is in town and wants a place to where he can safely get some work in, and he knows our style of doing things, and he wants to work within that style, and he wants that, I want to make that available to him. You know, we are a big stop for this. This happens pretty regularly. A pro fighter who's been out of the game trying to return, because he knows if he's wise, he knows if he goes into the big MMA gym here, that they're gonna probably beat him up, and he'll probably do okay, but he won't be brought up to speed safely. Whereas in our place, we're gonna make him puke, but no bruises, no pain the next day, no soreness, no bruises, no broken noses, no black eyes. He's gonna throw up his first 3 weeks, every sparring session. So I want to make that a possibility, because that's super enjoyable for me when fighters and martial artists and athletes from out of town come. I want to make it available, but I don't know. Jeff Meager says play them in Street Fighter and see how competitive and aggressive they are in Street Fighter first. Well, I wouldn't be able to tell, because I would smoke every single person that played with me. Jackson says, Icy Mike, when people come to Spar, do you have them sign a contract or waiver? You could design a contract with an understanding of how your gym does things. Yes, I mean, we do all that, and that's not going to, that wouldn't really, I don't think that would really solve the problem. Justin Lakey says, you could probably do the prior rule as the default unless someone can show some history or photographs of someone who's practiced. They should have some pics somewhere. Justin Lakey, it's funny that you mentioned that, because a lot of times when dudes are talking crap to each other online, I'm like, dude, just click their Facebook profile. Just click their profile. If within the first 10 pictures, it's not a picture of them with like 10 dudes training, like the after training picture, they can't fight. Because everyone I know, and here's how I figured that out. Because when I first started doing this internet stuff, and people would be like, I want to fight you. And I'd be like, oh my God, what does this mean? And I'd click and I'd look and I'd be like, it's just him at the gas station, or him at the oil field, or wherever, or him at college, like whatever he does. There's no pictures of him training. And I thought, who do I know that can beat me up? And you Google everyone you know that can beat you up, and every single one of them is a picture of them training with dudes. And you can't find anyone that can beat you up that's not their pictures. It's just a safe bet. So, yeah, you could just look into people. Jenna Loza says, you always have the traveling person who wants to jump into different gyms and see the different styles with everybody has their own way of ruling, and it's not always acceptable everywhere they go. Yeah, so Patty Malarkey, shout out Patty Malarkey, one of our producers, says, sign the contract in blood. Send the contract with a raven to the 3 crones of fighting. All right, settled. That's what we'll do. Justin Lakey says, I had that issue. Someone claimed they went to Harvard and Oxford, but as some community college listed as their Facebook. I don't know how that's related, but anyway. So, it's really rough. I think one fix, and this is a tough one, and I just need to swallow my pride, because as martial artists and as fighters, there's pride involved. A lot of times when people are going too hard in training, I tell everyone, hey, let your partner know if they're going too hard. And I've never heard anyone say, hey, you're going too hard, when I could clearly see that they were, because people are prideful. So it's hard to be vocal during the sparring session and during the round, where you can say, like, hey, we don't do that here, and not worry that guy's going to leave going, haha, I was too good, so they told me to slow down. I need to not care about that. Scott Rawson says, dude, honestly, it's really easy. If they can't find your gym or have to ask dumb questions, sorry, man, there's a very low bar to spar. You must be this smart to go on this ride. Tony Deere says, just tell them we train then spar here. No ego. Yeah, I mean, we told them all that. We tell them that, you know what I mean? But they keep showing up. Armand says, I just want the honor of getting beat up by Icy Mike. I'm way bigger than he is, so it would be very humbling. Prana Khan says, age diminishes pride, I think. Yeah, actually, mine was all the way gone. The only reason it's even an issue now, and this might be kind of silly, in the grand scheme of things, it might be pointless. I'm just working through this. I apologize in advance as I work through this like out loud with you. If it were just me, I wouldn't care, you know? But I've got my students, my guys who fight, and then the reputation of us being, legitimate is always in question. It's even more so in question with me than anyone else because everyone's like, oh, y'all are doing bullshit over there. But everyone that comes to sparring they're puking every time. There's puking every time. Like, there's so much puking. If someone comes to sparring and they've not and they're new with us, we just go ahead and set the trash can out by the front door because they're gonna puke. All sparring Jake has a good point. I think all sparring sessions need an overseer, someone who can just step in and say, hey guys, tone it down a little. Both parties sparring won't say anything due to their pride ego. Yeah, that way one guy doesn't have to tell the other. That's not a bad idea, and we usually do that. Jake 360 Flip says have someone, watching and sort of saying, hey, cool it guys. That way it's no one asking the other guy to go easy. That's a good idea. We have a small place though, Jake. We have a small place. Nick Arnold says, Mike, do you train pro or amateur fighters? Yes. A couple of each. And the issue with having someone to always watch, but that's what we try to do. We try to always have someone who's out. And the issue would be I need to find a series of questions or tests or riddles maybe to where we can determine whether someone's legit or not. I think the idea of like looking into a person a little bit or maybe asking where they train, and if they don't train, tell me this. What do you think about this? Give me a comment on this one. If they don't actively train anywhere and I can't verify that they are training anywhere, it's a no. If a guy trains in an MMA gym or a kickboxing gym or a boxing gym or a Krav Maga gym or a Kung Fu Palace or wherever Kung Fu people do Kung Fu, if he doesn't train at one of those places and I can't verify it, it's a no. Sorry, unfortunately. But if he does train somewhere and I can confirm that might make it a little easier. You know what I mean? Give me a comment if you think that's a good idea. Nolan Gill says, Icy Mike, one time a guy that was my size came into my gym to spar. My coach put me into the ring to kickbox and he double legged me. So coach told me to leg kick the hell out of him. Corey says, how about creating a VIP service for visitors where people need to spend some time to fill a form? They can put their lineage, school, and why they want to spar with you first. No, that seems too much like an app. Like, no, Corey, that's not quite how it works either. Tony Deere says you have the no option. I do have the no option, Tony Deere, but so one big issue is because of YouTube, I can't let that go on too long because people will just be calling and calling and calling and calling and calling and calling and calling, and I'm telling people, no, you can't come in. How does that look, Nick Swan says, maybe only let complete strangers spar if they had sanctioned fight experience. You would hope that would ensure a certain level of humbleness, but even then, that's questionable. So you're right. That's a one stopgap. Like if you fought, and that's always been the case, especially the more experienced the fighter is. If a guy's had 5 amateur fights, or if a guy's a professional fighter, I've never had a problem with sparring with them. It's never been an issue. I just need to be better. I need to be maybe better at screening and maybe a little more vocal during, and not worry too much about if they let them leave thinking that I had told them to chill out because I couldn't handle them. Noah Irwin Vlog says, aren't MMA gyms required to do that? I just switched gyms and the owner asked me that as his first question. Alun Gray says some people just panic under pressure and freak out. Yeah, and if that's happening, Alan, that's very easy to see. Nick Arnold says, Mike, you're allowed to yawn. Do you notice that I like every time I yawn on the stream, I like go like this. I go, yeah, I like yawning. I grip my teeth so you can't see that I'm yawning. Jeff Meager says, put on the questionnaire, how do you feel about Roadhouse? Chubby Huang says, have them complete an obstacle course before they spar. You guys get serious. Tony Deere says, yes, don't care what they think. They leave proud, so what? No harm done. Absolutely. I think that is long-term, I think that's not a bad idea. Scott Self says, also have them go with someone who's technically gifted but will let them work. Mark Boomer says, be vocal and not care about their thoughts. There's no guaranteed way to tell beforehand. Lee says, you already have a reputation. No punk ass spreading rumors that they were too intense. We'll change that and just let them walk and say whatever they say. Yeah. So that seems to be the consensus that we've arrived at. You know, if I need to just tell someone, hey, man, cool it. And he's like, oh, okay. I just let him think that he was beating me up too bad and I couldn't take it. You see where that's hard, though? You have to see where that's hard. As old and mature as I am, as wizened, as much of my ego as I've killed, and you guys have actually watched me through the years kill that ego and like bring my ego lower and lower and lower and lower and lower until I no longer even care. I'm like, great, you can beat me up, cool. The ego got so low that now I've got a big ego about having a small ego. I just heard myself bragging about how small my ego was. I've just worked on being self-aware for so long, but still, to let a guy walk out thinking that oh, man. Let's see. Let's go to Podbean. We're going to bring a couple callers in. If you want to be a caller on the Podbean app, we're going to bring in Average Joe. Average Joe, you're live.
How's it going, Mike?
How are you?
I'm squatting and said I'd call in between squats.
You're squatting? You said you're squatting?
Yeah.
How much weight are you squatting?
Well, I think it's about 200 on the bar right now.
You think? You think that's how much is on the bar?
I haven't squatted it yet, so I usually count. I put it on, count, then squat. I'm just working my way up to like 235 or something like that. So, anyways.
You don't know exactly how much weight is on the bar right now? Does any other lifters in the comments, does that make sense to anyone else?
Okay. Here's my excuse. I have a bunch of weights from a bunch of different like collections because weights are in like a very high demand right now, right?
So you got like a mixed bag of stuff.
Extremely. Some of the weights are plastic. So yeah, I've got an extremely mixed bag. And before I would actually squat the weight, I would calculate how much it is. Anyway, so I'm not squatting weight that I don't know how much it is. But anyways,
that's not what I was insinuating. I would never insinuate that you were squatting an amount of weight that you were unsure of how much it was.
Right.
That's not what I was insinuating. I was insinuating something different. The powerlifters in the comments know what I was insinuating.
Okay. Well, I'm not a powerlifter, so I guess I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But you've been talking a lot about gym etiquette and like ego recently, and I want to talk to you about that.
Yeah, go. I want to hear what you have to say.
So a lot of it's kind of around wrestlers. You've been talking a lot about ego when it comes to striking. Like
Jeff Meager says, I know exactly how many chin-ups I did today. He knows what I'm talking about. Go ahead, man.
So you've been talking about striking recently, a lot about ego and striking, but I wanted to talk about grappling and especially like wrestlers, right?
Yeah.
Because I used to wrestle in high school, but I could never make a friend on the wrestling team. And that's at the time. That's because probably I think they just were way better than me. I wasn't very good at wrestling, right? And so, anyways, but now I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and like the wrestlers show up to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? And even when I'm better at them in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you know, I can beat them at that sport. It seems like they always kind of I like to make jokes when sparring. They're kind of just like, no jokes while sparring, no taking it easy, boom, 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 boom. You know, we need to go at it, right? And that's not my personality, but you know, honestly, I think I might be wrong because you know, I've noticed wrestlers are just like so good at what they do. I kind of like think like, okay, it's not what I like, but it kind of seems like wrestlers have something going for them, being so good at what they do. Yeah.
I 100% concur. When I first started training MMA, I've always been a loud, boisterous, outgoing person. I know that seems very far-fetched, but I've always been that way. And so when I show up at a new place, I'm talking shit, I'm making jokes. I thought a funny joke was when, to give you an example, I'm talking to a 250-pound collegiate wrestling champion, right? And I'm talking shit like, you're ducking this roll. You're trying to duck this roll. You've been ducking me all night. Like, that's clearly a joke, right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, that should be clearly a joke.
Exactly.
And I was alienated quickly and completely at the first MMA school I went to for a number of reasons, but primarily among them, I think, is that I talked too much. I talked all the time.
Right.
I was not beating anyone up. I was playful. I was friendly, but I just talked too much, and I joked around too much, and all those guys hated that.
Right.
They hated that, and I didn't learn it until way later. In fact, until I got out of there and started running my own places, when I really kind of figured out why. It kind of clicked, and I have a boxer that coaches at my gym, and he's like happy-go-lucky, laughing, playing, but when someone starts playfully talking shit, he doesn't like it. Right. And I saw with one of my newer guys is an amateur fighter. I saw in him, he was playful and talkative, and I would play and talk crap back. And then when we go to other gyms or he'd train with some more experienced people, he would keep talking that way. And I saw them not like it, and then it clicked for me. And I was like, oh, fighters don't like that. Fighters, or in this case, wrestlers, like hardcore, tough dudes,
right?
They really don't like that. They take themselves a little bit seriously, which is not, like you said, they might be right because they're the ones beating people up and really having success and winning. But you're absolutely right. You probably talk too much. And when you call in, when we kind of verbally spar and go back and forth and talk shit, you know?
Right.
Those types of guys don't like that stuff, man. They really don't. Even if you're kidding, and even if they know you're kidding, they still don't like it.
I'll tell them that I'm kidding, like, man, obviously you're way better at wrestling
obviously,
than I am.
yeah, it's a ridiculous proposition that you would be ducking a roll with me, but they still don't like it.
Well, that's true. Like, I had this thing where you were talking about how your favorite submission in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was a mirror lock. I think that's what you were talking about,
yes.
Right? There was this one wrestler that I was practicing with at the beginning of practice, and he just wasn't saying anything to me because I think he had already gotten the idea that he didn't like me because I talked too much. Mm-hmm. And when it came to rolling, we went back and forth for like 15 minutes, super intense roll, right? Like anyone's game. And then at one point, I just caught him with a mirror lock. And you know that lock kind of comes on really quickly.
Yeah, and it's right? And the person that's in it feels like this is bullshit. This shouldn't have happened.
Right, exactly. But it was a mistake because I think I kind of took him not, I kind of took it as him not respecting my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like, that's why he didn't want to talk to me because he didn't think I was good enough. Maybe that was a bad interpretation.
Right, that's your insecurities creeping up because when people don't communicate with you, like if somebody seems like they don't like you, but they don't tell you why, you fill in the blanks. You make up reasons in your own mind. He might not even know you exist, but in your mind you'll create this whole like, oh, he's got some kind of problem with me. He thinks I don't know shit. I'm gonna show him. Yeah, I might talk shit, but I'm gonna throw this mirror lock on him. Right.
And that was like the first time I ever done a mirror lock before. But anyways, I saw Frank Mir do it, and that's how I knew about it. But I think my like interpretation of him not talking to me, honestly, maybe put that mirror lock on way too hard, and you heard
You
a pop in his
overcompensated.
shoulder, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
his shoulder popped. I think he's fine, but it was just I definitely overcompensated on that one.
Yeah, and that's probably what's important is that you're self-aware enough to realize that, like, and I'm not saying that you were definitely wrong and he wasn't thinking all that. It's just you were
Right.
operating under you filled in all those blanks. It's not like he told you, you talk too much, I don't like you, shut up and
And
roll.
me proving that was not worth like me hurting his rotator cuff
For
or
a
something like that.
hypothetical thought that he
Exactly.
might have maybe had about you.
Exactly, yeah.
You're right.
But
And that's,
actually, sorry, good.
that's exactly like with this last guy. That's kind of what I went through. I was just under the assumption he was an internet troll there to fight me or hurt my people. And so I like went like way hard on him. I didn't go any harder than he was going on me. I was just,
Yeah.
I was just better. Like that's
Right.
that's like the moral of the story is like, if you're not good, if the other guy's better than you, go real light because he's gonna give you whatever you're giving him.
And think about this guy, like, well, actually, so when I beat him, his shoulder popped, and he went, and as soon as like his shoulder popped, I let go, right? And he was like, get up right now. We need to do this again. We need to roll again right now.
Yeah, he
Right?
wanted to get back.
He was
I would've been
obviously
afraid
super
for my
annoyed.
life.
And I was like, yikes. But yeah, sure, let's do it, man. Anyways, I caught him in a guillotine.
Oh
So,
no! See what I would have done right then if I were you, I'd have like pulled guard so that I didn't get smashed, and then as soon as he passed my guard, I'd have tapped out, and then I'd have kept doing that until the time was up.
Okay.
Because like I know he's coming to hurt me with something, and I'm not trying to
Yeah.
find out.
So, but it's kind of weird. Like even when I proved that I was bigger than that guy. That's kind of short guy, right?
So you're a
I
mad
proved
bully.
that
I see.
I proved that I was better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu than a wrestler, right?
Yeah,
Like this
that's-
man is obviously like 5 times better at wrestling than I
Yeah,
am,
you-
and I
you
proved
proved
that I'm
nothing.
better. Right, exactly. I proved that I'm better at the sport that he like.
A guy
kinda
who's
shows up
smaller
to
than
every
you
once in
that
a while.
doesn't do that sport, you're better. Good job.
Exactly, exactly. But what was I gonna say?
No, that's
Oh.
that's amazing that you called in to share that, because like that's the kind of stuff that people either aren't self-aware enough to realize that that's what they did,
Yeah.
or are too prideful to admit that that's what happened. That's
Right.
very cool story to share.
If I could say one more thing.
Go.
You're talking about like why people come to fight you, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I think getting at it, is a good thing, but I think these people just don't know the difference between like long-term getting at it and like short-term getting at it. They want to get at it that day against you, right?
Yeah.
When the way more productive path is to like get at it long-term,
Yeah.
like,
against themselves, against their own.
right, exactly. Yeah. And,
You're absolutely right.
And like if you look at like the pros and cons from their perspective, it's like, well, the con is that Icy Mike doesn't like me, and well, he doesn't know me. I'm never gonna meet him again, so that's not really that big of a con. The
Yeah.
pro is that someone sees me on YouTube beating up Icy Mike.
Yeah.
The pro is bigger than the con for this person, a random person on the internet. So, anyways.
Yeah. And we don't put up the video. Like when I'm sparring with people I don't know, I usually
Yeah.
Surreptitiously, is that the word? I usually
I don't know.
clandestinely.
Okay. Yeah.
I usually like secretly. I don't say, it's not like I have a hidden camera. I just don't
Okay.
say like I'm recording this. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
We usually record most of it, but I don't publish it. I don't post.
This is what I do with my girlfriend a lot.
No. You don't post sparring videos. I don't post sparring videos too much unless the only sparring videos that we'll ever post are sparring videos where both people knew that they were being recorded and knew that that round would be posted, because I train with competitive people and we don't want to like put our real stuff on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, I don't even know what they think if they do come in and beat me. And if they do come in and beat me up, and that's going to happen. I know that's going to happen. I probably screwed up by doing this podcast and talking about this topic, because now some guy's going to be like, I'm going to be the first guy I'm different than every single one of those other guys that went in there to beat him up and left bloodied and battered.
Right.
I'm different. Someone's gonna think that they're the exception. I mean, every guy thought they were exception, but now the gauntlet has been thrown down.
Right.
It's not like I'm gonna post it. I'm not gonna post it. If you come in and beat me up, I'm not gonna post it. If you come in and I beat you up, I'm not gonna post it. If you come in and want to play around and have fun and play touch butt in the park with a bunch of dorks like us, we can do that. But you're not gonna get famous for beating me up or for getting beaten up by me.
Right.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and I live all the way in Virginia, but I feel like I should come down to Myrtle. Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, that's so far. Virginia's so far.
Okay.
I've driven to Virginia a bunch of times, dude. It's not that far.
Oh wow, big boy.
Yeah, it's not that far, and this place is better than that place. So just bring.
We'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
No, we won't, because I kicked you off because it's my show. All right, we're bringing Jaden on. Jaden, what's up, my man?
I just want to tell you about like how I've been seeing like Taekwondo classes, like because when I see sparring, they mostly use one technique, which is the roundhouse kick.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
On Taekwondo or on the roundhouse kick or on Taekwondo?
Yeah, they just because in Taekwondo classes when they're doing sparring, they rely on just one technique, which is the roundhouse kick.
I don't know enough about Taekwondo to know. I guess I would imagine the context of the sport in which they compete would sort of dictate their goals in sparring. I'll give you an example. We have two guys who have fights coming up where there won't be knees or clinching, right? And they're the only two guys with anything coming up. So we've basically removed knees and clinching from our current class. Like, it's still part of our curriculum, but we're just not doing it right now. These guys have a fight in a couple months. There's no knees and clinching. So a class of them spent doing knees and clinching would be useless. It would be pointless for them to do it. And the other people there, they could do one thing or the other. Like, if someone had a Muay Thai fight coming up, we might do more of it. But if in their rule set, that's what's rewarded, like that's how those guys score. I don't know shit about Taekwondo or how it's scored, But if the roundhouse kick is what's scoring, it would sort of make sense. But I also think a lot of that comes from it's just an easy, flicky, quick thing to do because they don't have to get into a lot of exchanges and have a lot of contact. I don't know shit about Taekwondo, but that's just my guess.
All right. Just one more question.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on like anime-based martial arts?
What?
I don't, like Hajime
Explain
no
yourself.
I'm saying if you've seen any.
I haven't.
What do you think are the most like realistic, I guess?
Anime-based martial arts, like a martial art that's based around an anime, or an anime that's about a martial art?
Or like Hajime no Ippo. It's like a boxing anime.
Dude, I don't know. Oh yeah. Okay, so I know what you're talking about, but I'm gonna. I don't know, man. I'm trying to grow up. I've like cycled through a million I don't know what you're talking about because I like girls. I don't know what you're talking about because I have a life. Like, I've cycled between a bunch of sophomoric, like, you're a dork jokes in my head.
Yeah.
But I don't really feel that way because I do like some anime. Like, I like the big ones, the big mainstream ones like Akira and Ghost in the Shell and stuff like that. But, like, the more obscure stuff, like, I can't even watch. Dude, I'm about to lose some subscribers. I can't even watch Dragon Ball. Like, I'm gonna edit that part out. I gotta edit that out because I'm gonna lose some people. I don't dislike Dragon Ball. I can't watch it. I don't know, dude. I'm 40.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm 40 with kids in a business, and the shit just takes too long to make stuff happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
because like me being a high school student, I have like all this free time, so I can
You can watch a whole episode where they stand across each other getting ready to fight, and they're like, oh, you've not seen my true power yet. Oh, what is he doing? I'm showing you my true power. Oh, no, he's going to show me his true power. That's right. I'm showing you my true power. You thought you saw my true power before, but this is my real true power. Oh, my God, his true power is so huge. Next time on whatever the fuck this guy that called in is talking about. And I don't have time for that. Like, show me the thing.
Yeah.
Like, we got to get to the thing. I think it's cool. I think the art is cool. I think the stories are cool. They just take too long to get to the point. So it sort of turned me away from anime in my adult years. I just can't. I'm sorry. I do know that one, the one you said, the only reason that I know that it seems like like they incorporate more legitimate boxing techniques is because Mind Smash did a video on it. That's the only reason I know. Mind Smash did a video.
Yeah.
He did a video on that anime. It's the only reason I recognized it, because I do follow Mind Smash. Hello. But you said anime-based martial arts, which is different than martial arts-based animes. Now I'm interested in, are there martial arts out there based on anime? And if not...
Sorry.
If not, you need to start one since you've got all that free time. You need to start taking moves from anime and trying to make them happen in real life.
All right.
All right, man. Thanks for calling.
No problem.
We got to bring on one of our producers, Patty Malarkey. You recognize him from the hit song. What's the name of the song? It's not hard to hurt. It's
Unhurtable.
Unhurtable.
Yeah.
The Ursidai. That looks Latin, like the Latin. It's something about bear. The bear boxer, Ursidai. Ursidae. AE is a diphthong that creates a long I sound in Latin. Is Ursidai? Ursidai. I don't know.
Diphthongs and...
I just wowed some people. Some people that thought I was a moron that knew nothing right then. Some people were like, holy shit, he just said a lot of words that do mean things. So he says, think we can see a self-defense fighting using jackets, gi, using your jacket or attacker's jacket to set up strikes or defense. So he wants me to make gi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu videos. Actually, when Hoodie Weather comes back in, my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor has a good long list of hoodie chokes. So I might get him to come on the channel and do some hoodie chokes. But Patty Malarkey.
Yeah, man.
How are you, my friend?
Dude, I'm good. I'm great. Trying to do some target practice with the bow, and I can't hit anything. So I'm calling.
What kind of bow are you shooting?
I want to get... it's a recurve, left-handed recurve. It's 65 pounds. No, 60 pounds. It's a Gravity SAS.
I shoot a bow. I haven't shot in 2 years.
I saw that on your video.
Yeah, and it was my first shot in 2 years.
Dude, pretty good.
Well, what sucks is I set the thing up, and I said, let me take a practice shot at this thing. And I didn't turn on the GoPro. I had the GoPro over there for, like, slow motion because I wanted to see the arrow. If you don't know what we're talking about, I shot the cold steel buckler. This guy right here, I'll give you a sneak peek what it looks like now. This is what it looks like right now. As you can see, I put this thing through its... Come on, focus on that thing. Let me cover my face up. That's what the cold steel buckler looks like now. I tried to wreck that thing. I shot it with and mine's a recurve bow. It's a 60-pound recurve bow, I guess, because I'm not as strong as you, obviously.
No, mine was 60 pounds.
Oh, I thought you said 65. I put the shield on the target thing that I set up. I rigged up some bullshit. I hung the shield up. I was back maybe, I don't know, 15 yards, 20 yards, between 15 and 20 yards, whatever. And the very first arrow I fired in over 2 years hit that sucker dead center.
Masterful shot.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, I wanted the GoPro on there because it you can record in like 7 million frames per second and show it in slow motion.
Yeah.
And I was like, for sure it's not gonna hit. But it chews up so much like battery and storage space to do that. I was like, I'm gonna take a couple practice shots with this thing. First shot, cracking.
But I like the way it kind of turned out. It was just quick. You're like, all right, cut to the arrow, real quick.
That was a different shot.
Yeah. But anyways, man, I kind of wanted to touch back on your subject where you're saying, how do we filter out these people? Or
yes, please. Do you have an idea?
Well, you said it perfectly just like a little while ago, where you said, hey, look, if you want to come by and have fun with a bunch of dorks. Like, you couldn't have said it better than that. Like, communication is the big thing. Like, if everybody knows what they're getting into when they get into it, I think, like, you'll filter out people that way. Because if you get to kind of know them by saying, hey, man, here's the deal. And if they know going into it that, like, hey, this is all just, we're not trying to do anything crazy. We're not trying to hurt each other.
Yeah. So
that was the best way you could do it, in my opinion, because communication, dude. Like, it's the number one thing in any relationship.
Yeah, I need to be more vocal during the session. The problem is I do all that before the session.
Yeah.
I do everything that everybody's saying, everything you just said. I do all that before the session even starts. We talk about that, and they're like, yeah, totally. No, I'm totally on board. That's totally how I train too. Yes, 100%. And then it goes beep. We touch gloves, and then I'm fighting for my life.
Right. I mean, like, oh man, maybe there's some way you could pull some comedy into it and be like, all right, remember? All right, let's go, remember?
I might need to just like, but dude, my pride, I still have some pride. And more so, it's not pride for me. I don't need them to know that I know how to fight.
Of course.
I don't really need that. But I have a business to run. People hire me, to hold pads for them and to run classes with them and create striking strategies for them.
Very good point, yeah.
And so I never want to, like, I can't let every customer has to get served whatever it is they ordered.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? He ordered that.
Yeah.
That's what he ordered. I got to serve it so that he could say, "Hey, I ordered a sandwich and they brought me a sandwich." Wow.
Then at that point, man, it's just like you're doing the best you can do, and
But you're saying I do need to communicate more effectively, like during.
Yeah, communicate more effectively during.
Yeah.
But and if you're doing that, man, and you're still running into people like that, I mean, that's going to be probably just a occupational hazard.
Yeah, I mean, it's these things happen. These things happen in YouTube MMA.
Yeah.
The guy who games a lot says he says check out Last Man by Everybody on Deck if you want good fighting anime. It's based on a French comic book. I think you can watch it on VRV or French Netflix. Dude, I wish I had this kind of time.
Yeah. Speaking of anime, well, I mean animation in general, like you can't really I don't think there's ever going to be a martial arts like based or anime based martial arts because it's entertainment.
Dude, shut your mouth. I'm going to come up with it now just because you challenged me.
All right.
I'm going to do a whole round. I'm kicking Sensei Seth's ass. He's coming in a couple weeks. Nice. I'm going to do a whole round. Don't tell him. Nobody tell him. I don't think he's here. Brent Nolan in the chat says, idiots beat idiots. Only one way to break guys from going too hard. Yeah, that's what Brent, I'm trying not to do that anymore. Brent's a buddy of mine. I'm trying to, the streets keep calling me back. I'm trying not to be that guy anymore.
Man. Going into everything with a smile kind of helps.
Yeah.
take the seriousness of everything. But hey, man, I'm gonna go eat dinner.
All right,
have
man.
a good rest of your podcast, dude.
Thank you so much, brother.
Have a good one.
All right. We're gonna bring on Chat Combat's own Renz Davis. Renz, don't say anything dumb.
You know I can't make that promise.
I know.
You know
Do your
this.
best. Do your best not to say anything
All
dumb.
right, so I'm gonna try and behave myself. I'm gonna keep all the spuds to a minimum, including Potato Dude on Podbean. But I do have to beg to differ with Patty Malarkey about the entire martial art based off of anime.
Oh my god, that's
exists.
what we're talking about. That's where this has gone.
I thought you
maybe had something to contribute to my actual real life, real world, adult, grown up, business related problem connected to the thing that helps me feed my family. But you guys all want to talk about anime.
I would love to talk about that as well, but I just want to quickly point out there is a martial art that does exist based off of an anime. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's called Yellow Bamboo. That exists. Just
why
saying.
would you be sure that I've heard of that?
You've never heard of Yellow Bamboo?
No.
Oh my god.
I'm very glad that
you've got to check that out. Just saying.
Do I have to? Do I have to check that out?
You don't have to, but it's, recommended.
Ursidai Pugilist says, sorry, I meant more in a striking context, aka Kudo Combat Sambo, maybe using a gi to set up Muay Thai combos or dirty boxing. Yes, I'm just picking on you. Help me out with the pronunciation of your screen name. You don't have to do another super chat. Just comment the pronunciation of your screen name. I'm interested in what that first word is, if I said it correctly. The guy who games a lot suggested some French shit. I would love to be in a position where someone's like, hey, there's this cool anime on French Netflix. 15 years ago?
French Netflix? Chakra bleu.
Yeah. French, shut up, Rance. 15 years ago, if one of my homeboys was like, yo, check out this thing on French Netflix, which Netflix didn't exist 15 years ago. Or did it? Was that when we were still sending stuff in envelopes? You guys might not even know this. Did you know Netflix used to be, they sent you DVDs in the mail with self-addressed stamped envelopes, and then you sent the DVDs back in the mail? That's what Netflix was?
The good old days.
Renz, did you know that?
I do. Oh, I had Netflix before it was really big, and it was $10 so you get yourself the DVDs, and then they came out with the streaming. I was like,
yeah.
Do I get both? I get both. Then they updated. I'm like, I'm just going to do streaming. Works out nice now.
John Tittarelli says, Mike, trying to help. Use the third-party observer as the final say. Instead of you kicking them out, it's a third party watching to say they aren't following rules. I think that's important. I think we're going to make sure that we always have 2 instructors there.
Not a bad call. I like the sound of that.
I'm going to try to make sure there's 2 instructors at every sparring session, because usually it's just me. I'm going to try to make sure there's 2 instructors at the sparring session and that one of us is always sitting out.
I mean, the question I would like to ask is, in regards to the people that come to your studio that are trying to start shit, I guess.
Yeah.
Is it more like a dojo storm feel, or are they just they think they can take you out, no problem? They're just tough guys.
So, I just Googled yellow bamboo, and I didn't. Oh, is it no touch knockout stuff?
No touch knockouts.
No.
Precisely.
Yeah.
There's actually one of those clips where you see the person trying really hard to use that no touch knockout. They get double legged, blast double leg. Yeah. Priceless.
So what was I saying, Renz?
We were talking about the thing that's going to save your business, keep food on your kids' tables and such.
After that, shit. Now I'm lost. Long Shot Martial Arts says, I'll lay out the rules. They get 1 or 2 warnings. If they still want to be a dick, I tell them to get the fuck off my mats. If they want to push it, I make it known. If they come back on the mats, we fighting. That's about what happened the last time. Long Shot. That's exactly what happened the last time. Oh, I remember what I was saying. But then I just forgot it again.
God damn it.
Oh, you asked, is it like a Dojo Storm thing? No, I discussed that at the beginning of the podcast. It's not a Dojo Storm because they didn't say, hey, screw you, I want to come kick your ass because I hate the things you say and I think beating you up will make me feel better about my life. That's a dojo storm, you know?
Yeah.
Or I think that beating you up will prove that something I think is better than something you think. That's a dojo storm. What happening is they're saying they want to come have a friendly spar. I say, hey, we don't spar hard. It's not competitive. We're all here to have a good time. And they say, no, totally. I'm totally cool. I'm down with that. And then they come in hot.
Yeah, sounds kind of like a sociopathic thing to me. Like, hey, I'm here to be friends. I'm here to spar. I've never done boxing. Then they come out like Mike Tyson, just like gazelle punching everyone. I think that's kind of a dick move in my opinion.
Yeah.
I personally have been lucky enough not to have that experience happen to me. So, yeah, I can't really help you on that front. But it sounds like you have a lot more reins of control with this situation. So,
yeah,
I got to agree with the two parties kind of watching the fight or watching the sparring.
Brent says, leave the verdict and punishments to Cliff, judge, jury, ... That's too many dots for an ellipsis there. But the rest. Yeah, Brent, you know what happened is he's not been there each time this has happened. It's like the days he's not there is when this happens. Every time, without fail. If he's not there, this is what happens. So I need to make sure his ass is there.
I mean, has he signed a waiver? Have these people signed waivers to come in?
Yeah, but that doesn't solve my problem. I don't care about that. I'm not worried about that. That doesn't solve my problem.
You should keep the tactical whip on hand then, just in case. I think that'd be a funny thing to see.
Well, I caught a bunch of pushback for saying this because everyone thinks it's so funny. I'm gonna have to do some stuff about affiliate marketing on my other channel, but I caught some flack. I told a story where I got a threatening email, and I get those a lot. I got a threatening email where a guy made a bunch of racist and anti-Semitic remarks towards me, and he said he was going to, attack me or beat me up or kill me or whatever. And then that day that I got the email, later that day, there was a vehicle I'd never seen before parked in front of the studio with a guy sitting in it for like a long time. And I looked around and the whip I picked up the whip and it was like the most attractive option to me of what I had in arm's reach that was, of non-firearm weapons. And everyone got mad when I told that story. First of all, they got mad. First of all, some people said that story was not true. And second of all, some people took issue with the fact that I had how I described the car. I won't get into all that because it starts to get political. But then that I picked up the whip because then people say, "Oh, you do affiliate marketing with the whip. You're just saying that to sell more whips." Like they've cracked some code when they see affiliate marketing. Like when you see an affiliate link, you're familiar with what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Now that you're an influencer as well. So people will see your affiliate link, like you do a review of a product, and they're asking to see the buckler. Everyone's talking about the buckler again. I showed it earlier. It's screwed up now. We got the video coming out where we tried to destroy it. I'm not sure when I'm going to release it.
Can't wait to see it, buddy.
That's what it looks like now. Let's find the hole where I shot it with the arrow. I shot it with a couple of arrows, but there's one good hole that you can see. Oh yeah, right here. This one here. It skipped off of, see this right here? It hit here, patwang, and skipped off and went into there. And that's where it dug in. And then the other one, it did the same thing in another spot. Yeah, here. It hit here and skipped off and went in there. So I hit dead center and it went in there. It's pretty far. It going.
Jeez, man. Sharp shooting, huh?
Yeah. But that's that guy right there. But look at what I did to the handle. I'll let y'all figure out how I did that to the handle.
Now I can't wait to see this video. I'm very thrilled about that.
Yeah. But where was I? Oh, affiliate marketing.
Back to the Stinger Whip, yeah.
Yeah. So accusing of a YouTuber of like wrongdoing when he makes a recommendation and puts an affiliate link is like going into a restaurant and when you ask them, "Hey, what's good?" and the hostess is like, "Hey, I really like the burgers here. They're really good." Be like, "You're just saying that to get me to buy one." Like you went in there and asked her, you know what I mean? You went there. She told you what she thought. You're already there. It's not a scam. It's affiliate linking. I could affiliate link anything. I could recommend anything. I could recommend this thing of tape. You know what I mean? And you should get one of these and use this for self-defense. But I don't think that. So I love it when they act like they caught me. Like, oh, very convenient that it's an affiliate link. No, it was intentional. I meant to do that because I want to make $14 for selling 30 of these bucklers. You know, like, woo, rolling in that big affiliate marketing.
Self-defense and capitalism, my man.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah. Full disclaimer, in case you thought like I was just saying that these bucklers were so good because I'm trying to make money off of them. I've made $14 off of that buckler.
That's enough. $14. That's enough to go to that restaurant and just totally discredit that one waitress. Like, the hamburger's good. It's like, I don't want the hamburger. I want the other thing.
I can't go to that restaurant for $14 because I have these damn kids.
Screw that restaurant. Not worth it anyways, man.
Well, all right, Renz. How's things going with your channel?
It's going very well. We just did some interviews with Nick Draza. That's going up very soon this weekend. And we also talked with Rokas Leo. Very good times. But more importantly, we have a very special guest coming up in at least 2 weeks. I'm very sure you're a big fan of him, McDojo Life.
Yes.
Rob. Very
That's
nice
cool.
guy.
You guys are doing a good job. Cool, you guys are landing some real people.
Thank you very much, man. I've been very thrilled about it. I mean, as you know, I'm not exactly the what's the word? I'm not the articulate one. I'm the funny guy.
You're not the brains of that operation. I know that.
Yeah. If there was like the good cop, bad cop thing, we would be Vincent's the good cop, and I'm kind of the incompetent cop that just. No. You remember Hot Fuzz? I'm kind of like the.
No. Vincent's the cop, and you are the crackhead who has not had time to drop off at the jail yet. That's riding around with him in this buddy cop comedy.
Well, fair enough. You got some crack, Mike?
Yeah.
I'm jonesing, buddy.
All right, man. Well, we'll see you later. Thank you for calling in.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on, my man.
Longshot Martial Arts says, how often does this happen? For me, it's not super often, and it seems to always be the guys that come off as the most humble dudes. Then they start freaking out as soon as the round starts. It's happened a handful of times to varying degrees. I shared some stories earlier. There's only been one where I really basically TKO'd the person during sparring, which is disgusting to me. I hate doing that. I don't like hurting people. But Regalis X says, Mike, how about this? I'll buy you a nice lunch when this whole situation ends. Got to feed the kids too, man. If you want to take me to lunch, got 3 hungry mouths to go with me. Nepthu says, if I live close enough, I'd go to the dojo and yell, hey, I want to be bros, play X-Men and drink beers. Mike would kick me out. No, you'd definitely be invited. You're definitely invited to play X-Men and drink beers. This is, I don't know if Kristen made this one. She makes these. I don't think she made this one because this one looks really nice. It's hers. I don't think she made this one. Well, we're gonna be closing out the show here. I appreciate everyone's input. I feel like we made a lot of progress. I feel like we got pretty far with this problem. I think what we've settled on is that I need to be more vocal, be more. Gage Abdul says, hard to hurt. How well can you milli rock? I don't know that I can milli rock at all. That's this one. All right, that's this one. That's that dance right there. I don't really know much more about it than what you just saw. But Scott Rawson says he has pants that look like your cup. I think what we settled on is that I need to be more vocal. I fully explain it. I do everything that everyone was saying I should do up to the round starting, but then I don't say much once the round has started, and then I just sort of let things go where they go. But I need to be more vocal and more assertive during the round. But I think that's what we're gonna go with, and I'm also gonna be more like picky about even like talking to people about coming. Like if they're not coming to train, like if they won't come to class, if they're in town but won't come to classes, but then want to come to sparring, I got an issue with that. I think that's what we're gonna go with. I think that's what we've settled on. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that, and I appreciate everyone chiming in. If you want to catch the replay of this on Podbean, you can follow Icy Mike on the Podbean app. I think we're going to leave this one up on YouTube because I think we actually made it through without doing anything crazy. We'll see when this thing ends what YouTube thinks of it. Thank you guys so much, especially you guys with the super chat, especially Patty Malarkey, one of our producers. And we will see you guys soon. Thank you so much.